There. Good. Okay. Hello, everyone. We're back in the third video of Chapter 2 lectures about why leisure is vital. In this, we're talking about fifth benefit, play, in this video, and their other benefits. Moving on. So play here is not maybe so much of the benefit of leisure per se, but it's more, type of leisure experience, if you will. Play can be defined as a spontaneous act motivated by enjoyment of living that involves carefree suspension of consequences. That sounds a lovely sentence, carefree suspension of consequences. And I think this picture really, represents that well. I mean, look at this boy. He's all muddy at a kid's too, and he's even licking his face covered with the mud. He's not thinking about having a stomachache later, and he's not thinking about his parents going nuts after seeing this muddiness. Anyway, so perhaps in this sense, this really speaks to something like freedom, perceived freedom, and intrinsic motivation. So we tend to think in our field that the play is one of the most prototypical, fundamental leisure experience. According to John Newlinger, it's a pure leisure. A famous anthropologist from, I think, the Netherlands, Dutch, Johan Huizinga, he wrote a book called Homo Ludens. Homo Ludens, homo means like human, basically human beings, right? So in contrast to Homo sapiens, Homo Ludens means that the basic fundamental characteristic of human being is that we play. And play is very important. He argued in a book that play is older than culture. It's very essential to us in any living, basically. For culture always presupposes human society, and animals have not waited for man or human to teach them they're playing. Like textbook shows you, actually, textbook talk more about animals, different animals playing, actually. At least they look like playing to us. And play is such a fundamental thing in our culture, in our life. According to, this is a French theorist, so I don't know how to pronounce his French name, but Roger Carlos, anyway, he identified 4 types of play. And I think they're it's only 4, but it's really comprehensive if you think about it. The first kind is what he called agon, which is a competition that involves some level of skills. I have a picture of badminton. Although some people expect that badminton is very recreational, at the top level, it's very, very competitive and very much skillful. If you Google search like a top 10 crazy badminton rallies, you will be surprised. Okay, so it's an agon. Yeah, some of the play actually do that too. There's a competition involved. The second type is called alia, which involves luck and uncertainty, and almost giving up control a little bit, and leaving everything to luck. Gambling is a good example. It's a type of play, although it can be very addictive sometimes. The third kind is mimicry, which is role playing and pretend to be someone else, basically. And you may feel that's like very childish stuff that we do, we do only as a child, but no, if you think about role play gaming and stuff like that, which is very popular across generation now, around the world, like WoW, like World of Warcraft, I'm interested in that. Anyway, mimicry is still there. And then finally, Roger called it elinx. I'm sorry, I don't see it because of Zoom thingy. Elinx, which is basically involves vertigo, like sense of dizziness and sensation. Something like, for example, using substance, some sort of a drug, for example, legal or not, alcohol consumption, even like taking a roller coaster is part of this elinx, according to Roger Carlos as well. So these are 4 types that he identified. And maybe think about the play that you want, you like, and think about maybe they can be categorized in at least one type or multiple. And let me know if you actually find something that doesn't belong to any of those things, which is very difficult for me. Now, there are different theories of why people play, because essentially it's very mysterious, because play isn't beneficial, like practical. It doesn't give us money, for example. Why do we play? So there are some explanations. Chapter talk about a 10 or so, and I want you to at least understand 4 of these, because they're not necessarily so much researched, but they are the foundation of other theories that are more used recently. So the first is surplus energy theory, which means that through play, we burn up extra energy. So if you become parents, and a lot of parents make their kids play outside, doing something physical, because they have so much energy inside, and you have to let them use them. Otherwise, they're not going to sleep at night, and which is a very, a nightmare for you as a parent. So surplus energy, right? The second is preparation. The children practice adult life through play. Do you agree with that? Maybe, some sort of role playing can come into my mind. Other thing, even like something like a sport, kids and children playing sports, and they learn about cooperation, leadership, teamwork, things like that. That's also preparation in a way too. Catharsis, changing something negativity into something tolerable, even positive. Arts, a lot of arts come into here. For example, artists experience something negative in their life. You experience something negative. Heartbreak, relationship falls apart. But you change that negative thing into something tolerable and beautiful, actually, and positive, socially valuable or personally valuable, by making a song out of it, or making a drawing out of it. That's a catharsis activity. And finally, fourth, arousal seeking. That through play, we can seek optimal arousal level, not too bored, not too nervous, not too fearful, a good level. So when you're bored, you want to just jump up and get some excitement. If you're too nervous, maybe you can do something a little more chill to make you relax, to get into that optimal level. So these are 4 things that I want you to focus on in this course. Now, related to play, textbook mention what is called a playfulness. So play is action, and maybe some other, psychological mentality. But this playfulness is a psychological trait. It's a tendency. It's a predisposition to frame and reframe. So, interpret and reinterpret a situation in such a way as to provide yourself and possibly other people with amusement, humor, and/or entertainment. And there's this Lynn Burnett is a psychologist of leisure from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She's one of the, personality researcher in our field. Now, when I think about playfulness, I think about this guy. Okay, so some will be your first year student. You have never been to Edmonton, but if you lived in Edmonton and White Avenue area, White Avenue is a main street in our city, and you'll see this guy. He's a guy, I don't know his name, half naked. He wears roller skate and a guitar, and he goes off and on a white Main Street, especially when it's like even there's a traffic jam in the morning. So I get like frustrated, right? There's a traffic jam. It takes a lot of time to get to office, and then there's this guys come by and with some guitar sound, and such a smile on his face, and just he's framing and reframing that potentially stressful situation for him and also other people, in our cars, in a more amusing and humorous way, and it definitely entertains us. That's the kind of, and he keeps doing it really, like years and years. Since I came here in Edmonton, 2013, he does it every year for days, weeks. So now, play, there's a benefit to play, and I wanted to talk about quickly who plays, right? And specifically, does anybody else play besides children? Play sounds like a childish stuff. but what about others? And who benefits from praying? And research after research suggests that actually prayer benefits in many ways, but it benefits almost everybody. For example, Megan Yankee, Julie Sun, a researcher, leisure researcher from the United States, they studied quote unquote older, because you have to be at least, I think, 50-year-old to be a member, older female members of what is called a Red Hat Society. It's like an association. They benefit from their prayerfulness. So now, maybe you're wondering, what is this Red Hat Society? You can look it up, but the gist of it is that these women, they get together and they just play. And they make a joke. They wear very provocatively with a certain color. You know, red is and purple is their colors. And then sometimes they're revealing and they just laugh and they are maybe a little loud and all that kind of stuff. They do activities, something that, you know, something that they don't do normally. And they go out of, if you see right side, stop acting your age. So they go beyond the age norms, you know, what they're, you know, this level of older woman is supposed to do. They go beyond that and they tend to enjoy really much. And research suggests that this activity really enhances their stress coping strategies. They're good at managing stress and the bonding. They become such good friends with other members. And it's very, very important for this age group as well. So the answer is everybody can play, everybody should pray, and everybody benefits. Many people benefits from praying, not just children. That's the point. Related to play is the humor. Humor. When I see humor, I see this picture, a guy called Chandler Bing, you know, character called Chandler Bing. He's a character from a TV show, sitcom called Friends. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I recommend. It's one of the most famous sitcoms of all time. But he's the type of guy who makes a joke, awkward jokes, humor, when he's uncomfortable. And he makes the situation worse. Anyway, it's funny. But usually, humor is a positive thing, and there's so much benefit. And leisure is a situation we become humorous. For example, Manel and McConn's old research about 40 years ago found that the college students, your generation back in the time, experienced humor more often through social interaction. Okay, so that's kind of leisure, right? Social interaction with the friends especially. And least actually through mass media. So even within the leisure, there's, you know, difference in terms of how much humor you can get out of. And also they found that humor was positively related to positive emotion. So that means more humor, more positive emotion, and more humor, less negative emotion. So it's good for your happiness and well-being as well. Now the question is this though, right? Do you think the results would be the same or different if we do this research again? Look at the college students, right? And where they can find a humor. Especially, I ask this, especially because of the technology and social media, right? We don't really consume much of mass media like a TV anymore. We consume more of social media. And they're by nature social, quote unquote, it's a social, right? You know, you connected with your friends, you know, on your TikTok and, you know, maybe a bit of Facebook. It's older generation stuff, but Twitter, things like that. So kind of, you know, media and social get together in the social media. So does that mean we get the same amount of humor like we did high level humor or low level humor, right? And is it even good? Like, is it still humor out of social media still positively related to our emotion, positive emotion? If you think about the quality of the humor. Or maybe it makes you, the humor through social media may get you feel not good even depressed or not really good. This is a very interesting topic. And of course, I don't know any study about it, and it will be a future research area as well. textbook also summarizes research showing that humor have so many physical health benefits as well. It improves our digestion, our heart and lung functions, lowers body pressure, muscle strength, immune system, which is a good thing to have now, and reduces pain as well. It's true. And we, in a clinical context, we use some of the comedy and things to actually reduce post-surgical pain and things as well too. Laughter, which comes after humor, good humor at least, improves what is called a heart rate variability, HRV. What is that? Is basically, the idea here is that the heart shouldn't pump in at the same rhythm, either high or low. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't be the same pace. The pace rate should change, you know. And then humor, laughter does that. When you laugh at the beginning, heart rate goes up, and then when you stop laughing, you get released, and then heart rate drops. It creates that variability or change, the difference, basically the gap, which is this greater variability, heart rate variability, is linked to, of course, health, physical health, but also mental health as well. So there's so much benefit to having humorous experience, and a lot of humor comes from leisure as well. And another thing related to leisure and benefit of leisure is relaxation. It's the emotional state of low tension or arousal, being free from stress and anxiety. It's kind of related to pleasure as well. Some of the pleasure is relaxing. There are two views of why relaxation is important in a textbook. One is that relaxation helps us be recharged, recover from stress, and be productive again in your work. Okay, so the first perspective is not so good for us as a leisure researcher or leisure student, because the center here is work and being productive, right? And relaxation helps us do that. That's important, but the center is not relaxation, center is not leisure. Now, the other perspective, which is, I would say, more important to us, is that relaxation itself is important because it helps us a rare opportunity to quote unquote pause, stop, and interrupting a daily routine and facilitate reflection, introspection. You know, thinking about, for example, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're doing in your life, and wondering. How many times, how often do you get to do that? Our life may be too overscheduled right now. That, you know, you have this Google Calendar, the smartphone, everything is scheduled, and you get an invitation from, you know, your professors or your friends or, you know, schoolwork, and then when you say yes, everything is scheduled, and then phone will ding you like, hey, in 10 minutes you have to do this, Zoom meeting, doing that, doing this. There's no time for you to pause. Relaxation is a rare opportunity, maybe the rare opportunity to do that. And that's very, very important sometimes, to stop and think rather than just keep doing. The concept of a mindfulness, for example, also relates to this as well. However, interestingly though, our field, leisure research, has ignored relaxation, importance of relaxation. According to this guy called Doug Cleaver, a professor from University of Georgia. He's one of the psychologists of leisure. In 2000, he wrote the paper saying that basically our field neglected importance of relaxation, although, which is ironic because when you hear leisure, usually you think about relaxation as well. Maybe there's a cultural bias. North American leisure, which Cleaver is criticizing here, North American culture tends to emphasize and idealize high arousal emotions such as excitement, elation, those things, you know, like something that pumps up your heart and you feel like you want to jump up, that kind of feeling, rather than relax and peacefulness, those things. Since then, after about 15 years later, about when since Cleaver made that statement. Manel, Gordon Walker, a couple other colleagues got together and did research about Edmontonian workers, the workers in the city Edmonton. What they did and what they found a little complicated, so I'm gonna explain it to you. So they measured low arousal positive emotion or positive effect, including relaxation. Okay, so they measure relaxation in 3 different ways. First is this black column, ideal level. They asked, okay, ideally, how much from 1, not at all, to 5, all the time, how much relaxation do you want to feel? Ideally. And people average about 4.16. So pretty a lot of time. That makes sense. It's a positive thing, right? Now, then they ask in the middle, blue column, they ask about actual emotion, actual relaxation. How often do you feel relaxation in your work? Blue column. From 1 to 5, 5 being all the time. 3.22. Okay. It's not too low, but it's still not, there's a gap between that actual work relaxation and ideal level. There's a gap, right? Now, when they also asked about, okay, what about your leisure? How much of actual relaxation you get from your leisure in general? Now, those people, the same people, averaged 4.02, which is very, very close to their ideal level. So the message here is that leisure is characterized by relaxation, and maybe compared to work, leisure is the area that provides this emotional benefits, relaxation, because it's very close to ideal level. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to see you in the next video, 4th video.